5-Minute Pearls for Clinical Practice. This week's Pearl is Creativity Part 1. Hello, this is Dr. Brian Morris, and this is 5-Minute Pearls for Clinical Practice, where you will learn the tools to provide exceptional care for your patients. This is the weekly podcast where you will be introduced to time-tested, evidence-based patient care strategies that aren't always taught in schools or training programs, but are nonetheless crucial for success in clinical practice. I'd like to dedicate the next 3 episodes of this podcast to creativity in clinical practice. How best do we find and express that inner creative power? What do I mean by that? Being a great clinician doesn't just mean that you're great with patients. It doesn't just relate to direct patient care. It also relates to finding creative ways related to patient care. This could relate to patient education. It can relate to office organization. It can relate to staff training. It can relate to community service. It can relate to lectures that you give. It can relate to teaching modalities such as podcasts like this one. It can relate to writing articles or scientific papers or articles for a newspaper. It can relate to websites or blogs. It can relate to many other forms of communications. Creativity means that you're using your knowledge and experience and wisdom to create something that helps others. Do you have a creative endeavor related to your clinical practice? What are some specific examples of what I'm talking about? One example might be writing a practice newsletter for patients. Another example might be creating informational videos to post on YouTube for your patients. Another example might be creating informational handouts for patients. Another form of creativity might be office protocols for your office staff. There are so many ideas about how to be creative in clinical practice. There are podcasts, there are books, there are videos, there are blogs, there's Twitter feeds, there's Facebook pages. There are so many ways to be creative in today's world. And there are so many ways to use this creativity to help your patients and or your staff. On this podcast episode, let's discuss an important lesson in creativity, and that's what I call go with the flow. What do I mean by that? Creativity is kind of a mysterious thing. Ask any musician, ask any artist, ask any writer, and they will tell you that elusive creative forces are unpredictable. They can come and go like waves. Some days, fresh and exciting ideas may flow through your mind like a river. On other days, creative energies may seem blocked and not accessible. What are we to do? After 2 decades of this, I have learned an important lesson. When the creative juices are there, go with it. Tap into that flow. Or as I would say, go with the flow. Even if it may not seem the best time to work on that project, try to find the time. Let's say you're thinking about creating a patient education handout for your clinical practice on a certain topic, and all of a sudden an idea comes to you about that topic and starts to flow. If at all possible, sit down and get that idea down on paper or type it into your smartphone. Musicians often talk about waking up in the middle of the night and hearing a new song in their head and writing it down. I've heard countless musicians say that if they don't write that song down at 3 a.m., when they wake up in the morning, they'll never remember it. Write those ideas down when they come to you. Get it down. Don't think too much about it. Don't analyze it. Just get it down while the ideas are flowing. There's no guarantee that the ideas will still be there tomorrow or even in an hour, so get it down. Worry about the details later. Worry about the specifics later. Just get it down, either on a piece of paper or what I do now is I have an app on my iPhone for ideas. I use Evernote. And when an idea comes to me, I go to Evernote and I quickly jot down the idea. And conversely, if you're sitting down trying to create something and the ideas are simply not flowing, don't force it. You may want to give it a little time to make sure that there truly are no new ideas, but if you're not feeling it, don't force it. Go for a walk, listen to some music, read a book, do something to reanimate your thoughts, and then return to your project a little while later to see if the ideas are starting to flow. And if the ideas start to flow, go with it. For me, I use running. Running for me has always been the tool that kickstarts my idea engine. When I find myself unable to generate new and exciting ideas and create something, I will go for a run, and miraculously, almost every time, like clockwork, when I go for a run, new ideas start to flow. For you, it might be some other activity. What activities work for you? The key is to tap that flow of ideas when the ideas are flowing, and when they're not, don't get upset with yourself. Don't get frustrated. Try some other activities and then return to see if the creative energies are flowing then. So the first lesson in creativity, whether you're creating videos, whether you're writing an article for a blog, or whether you're writing a book, or whether you're creating a handout, or whether you're writing the agenda for this week's office meeting, the first lesson in creativity is to let it flow. Focus your time and energy on the projects where the ideas are flowing. Creativity is a mysterious mission, but one that we should tap when the moment is right. Let's keep the dialogue going. Let me know what you think of this week's Pearl for Clinical Practice. You can email me at drmorris@5minutemd.com. That's DRMORRIS at 5minutemd.com. You can post your comments and your experiences on the 5-Minute MD Facebook page. You can follow us on Twitter at Brian Morris MD, and you can visit us anytime on our website, 5minutemd.com. Let your friends and your colleagues know about the podcast and make sure that you are subscribed on iTunes. When you are subscribed on iTunes, you will receive new podcast pearls as soon as they are posted. And if you have a few minutes and you enjoy what we're doing here on this podcast, please head over to iTunes and leave us a review. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you at the next 5.